For those of you who are here later, okay, there we go. Do. Ah, there we go.
Where are you going? I'm walking back up to my office. So,
okay. Well, I had to plug my phone in, and now I can't use my redneck. Here, does it? What happens if I do it upside down? Nope. Oh well. So I got to hold my phone for now because I had to plug it in, and now I can't have it. So let's give everyone a few minutes, see who shows back up. We probably lost most of them though.
So what you were saying? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We got somebody here. We got one thumbs up. So just jumping right back when I was at. So this whole Filioque thing, right? You got the Nicene Creed, and it says something about the I actually don't ascribe to the Nicene Creed, so I don't know it by heart or anything, but it says something about the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father. Hey, all right, Patrick and Buck are back, and which is fine. But then some controversies come up, and Rome decides they want to add in this phrase that the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father and the Son. Again, it doesn't insult me; it's fine. But both formulations are completely appropriate. But they get into this giant fight about it. And they have this split, and they're still fighting about it today, 1,000 years later. And this is not I'm picking on Rome and the East because this is not something that's unique to them. I mean, Protestants do it all the time. This is part of the human condition. I've literally seen Baptist churches split over the color of the carpet. They were going to get new carpet, and the church had to split. Yeah. So I mean, I've seen them split over organs. I mean, I'm just picking on the Catholics because I don't know if Mark's back in the chat or not, but I enjoy tweaking Mark because he has a good sense of humor about it. So the older I get, the more I realize this stuff doesn't matter. This is just not important. And when we split over stupid things like the color of the carpet or whether the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father or the Father and the Son. Mark's back. These are not things that God wants us to fight about. One of the most important verses, in my opinion, is I believe it's Deuteronomy, and I believe it's Deuteronomy 29:18, but I always get these things wrong. It could be 18:29, whatever. But it says the secret things, or I'm sorry, the revealed things have been given to you for an inheritance. The things God has revealed to us, He has revealed to us, and they are ours. But the secret things belong to the Lord. And there are just things that haven't been revealed to us, and they are not ours to fight about. The Bible is silent on whether the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father or the Father and the Son. We can speculate. I think it's very safe to say that the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father and the Son. But what's the difference? What's the difference? Can we actually claim to understand the essence of our Creator God? I mean, we don't understand this stuff, and we can't understand this stuff, and we can have opinions, but excommunicating each other over it is just not in keeping with
not biblical. I mean,
religion at all.
No, we should be able to not argue, but debate our views and what we think. That shows education and wisdom. But we should not be dogmatic to say that unless you believe what I believe, you're wrong. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Basically, the most important thing is, how do you get salvation?
Yes.
That's pretty simple for most religions. You know what I mean? Even we can even argue with the Calvinists about election and all this, but do you believe Christ saved? You know what I mean? That's the biggest thing here for all this. The other stuff, we should just have humor, study, and try to iron sharpens iron. That makes sense? Not to tear each other down to prove that I am better. I am smarter than you because of this. You know what I mean? It's trying to build each other up. So, and that's the problem. We're not building good nations here when we fight. And that goes with the 2A community. That goes from goes to everything. We need to come together and have some basic principles.
Yeah. I have enjoyed digging into this stuff though. Oh, here we go with the 40,000 different churches. I want to see a list of these 40,000 different churches, Mark. I'm not familiar with 40,000 different Protestant denominations. I don't know where those would be. I heard a Muslim tell me one time that there were 22,000 discrepancies in the New Testament. And I asked him for the list, and I never did get the list.
Yeah.
And I would also like this list of the 40,000 different Protestant churches.
A lot of it's probably just parroting. This is what someone told me, so I'll repeat it to you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to repeat it to me, but you were just saying that most of the
That's
churches
just
are
a lot of people. Yeah, just parrot. I mean, everything. You know what I mean? It's like, well, if you believe that, tell me. I want to hear. If not,
but
so what is your view of Calvinism? You were talking about it. You had some.
I am deeply suspicious of Calvinism.
Okay.
And part of the reason why I'm suspicious, well, that's two, Mark. You're off to a good start, brother. You only got 39,998 more to go. Now, when I say I'm suspicious of Calvinism, I do not deny that they are my Christian brothers.
Okay, that's good.
And maybe I don't understand their theology, but it seems to me no one understands their theology. It seems to be so dense and so thick
100%.
and so carefully worded and just so weird.
You would say a lot of parroting, a lot of just repeating what they were told to say.
Yeah. So to the extent I understand Calvinism writ large, their claim is that, and I think there's gradations of this. So I'm painting with a pretty broad brush here, So there's like Reformed Baptists that might be the lightest version of this, and then there's like high church Calvinists who might be, some old school Presbyterians or something who might be the weirdest version of this. But there are people who are elected to salvation, right? That there are people who are chosen to be saved, and if you are not one of those chosen people to be saved, then you have no hope of ever being saved, and you were created for damnation. Now, if that's their view, if that's an accurate view, then I have deep problems with that. Like, like scripture says that that God wouldn't that any should perish, or I'm paraphrasing here. So I can't.
I come to save all. You know what I mean? I come
Yeah,
to save all.
I just can't reconcile with my mind with the idea that there's people who under no circumstances are capable of experiencing salvation. I can't go there.
Would you say that's a hyper Calvinist view?
I honestly, like, I just exhausted all of my knowledge of Calvinism. Everything I just said is everything I think I understand about Calvinism.
Okay.
But yeah, I do think that is a hyper. I think you're right. I think that would possibly be Calvinism at its most extreme. That there are people created who have no hope for anything but damnation.
Salvation, yeah. Damnation. It's kind of a sad, and it doesn't fit the harmonics. Like I've argued with my brother and other people. Well, how does that fit the harmonics of the Bible? Because the Bible fits together. You agree? There's like a harmonic wave of lack of a better word, using music of how the Bible fits together, and it doesn't really go clear off here and come back down here. It all kind of blends together and gets you a basic, good sounding melody. How does, if God damns you to go to hell, how does that fit the gospel? Well, Christ says, "I've come to save all." You know what I mean? And other places, I have a hard time understanding then what is free will? I mean, so what? Does God doesn't give you free will? This is just a joke that God doesn't allow you to choose anything? I mean, it is a I I admit that God is sovereign. He has a plan. We'll all end up at the end to like the same point, but we have choices if we can make left or right, but we'll end up at the same point at the end. Does that make sense of a way of easy of trying to explain simple free will?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. I just tried to mess with something and it didn't work.
Okay.
What did I do?
Uh,
It said start Q&A. Mark asked, do Calvinists play with snakes? Uh, Good
I
night,
don't.
Patrick. Thank you for being with us. I actually live in that area. The snake handlers are not far from where I live.
Okay.
Those are some people will call them mountain holiness, but it's an Appalachian branch of Pentecostalism. Uh, so they're not very common anymore. Uh, but yeah, good night, Patrick. Thank you for hanging out with us, sir. But yeah, they used to be in this area.
Sorry,
So
Patrick.
yeah, I don't really, I didn't know any of them. My dad used to know some snake handlers. They were pretty wild people. They would also drink poison. They would drink strychnine uh, because
That's a
they said
string.
it was a test of faith. And there's some verse where it says, you know the verse. It says something about you'll be bitten by the,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, but uh, yeah, they're kind of fun. But no, those aren't Calvinists. Those are what we would call mountain holiness, I believe. But
Okay.
they're a non-denominational uh, uh, a pretty wild group. They're pretty fun. Uh, the guy who I knew of who was semi local, he was about 30 miles away from here. He would sleep with the snakes underneath his bed, and then he would make his kids sleep with the snakes underneath their bed, so that they
And
would
then
all be,
poisonous snakes.
yeah,
Poisonous.
rattlesnakes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Uh, and now they would be in cages, but so what? I mean, famously, snakes can escape cages.
Yeah.
Uh,
Most time I see a snake is a dead snake. I'm not a big snake man. I'm just going to tell you right now. In Ohio, we don't have very many deadly snakes. We have some copperheads and some timber rattlers down in southern Ohio. It gets hairy in southern Ohio, and I have seen timber rattlers how to kill them down in southern Ohio. And up
mhm.
here, occasionally you see some copperheads. Now, people claim to see water moccasins, but like Ohio ODNR or Park Service says, if you get a water moccasin, bring it to us. They've never recorded one in
Yeah,
Ohio because
yeah, we have,
it gets too cold.
yeah, we have that same thing too, where people swear they see moccasins every year, and
Hmm.
no one ever catches one. We do have the timber rattlers. I have seen them in the woods around here. We also have the coral snakes, which are really the most dangerous on the
Yeah.
East Coast. And I think we do have the Eastern Diamondback, but it's very, very, very rare.
Yeah. You have
Very rare.
copperheads?
Yeah, we have a lot of copperheads. That's pretty common snake to run into.
Okay. Here
Uh,
it's very you see them. I might see one a year, and I'm in the woods all the time. I mean, I might see one a year.
yeah. So we'll see them around the house occasionally, but I really encourage the black snakes. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and when you got the black snakes, you don't have to worry about anything else. So
100%.
I haven't seen a copperhead around the house itself in a few years now, but I have a black snake, Ken. Oh my God. I'm not like scared of snakes. I don't mess with them, but I'm not scared of them. I'll kill a poisonous one if it's around the house.
Mm-hmm.
If I see this snake was the biggest black snake I've ever seen in my life. He had to be. So I didn't get to see him unballed because we were cleaning out an old pile of scrap metal.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Rob's here. Hey, Rob, it's good to see you, brother. Uh, we don't get to talk to Rob much. It's good to have a moderator in the chat too. We were having comments held for review earlier, and there was no one to review them. So I turned over this pile of metal, and there was a bunch of eggs in there where the chickens had been hiding their eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And right next to it was this snake. So he was in a ball. So he started slithering
Mm-hmm.
away back into a hole. So I never saw him stretched out. But he had to be every bit of 8 foot long, and he was as big around as my upper arm because he was just
Whoa.
sitting there eating eggs as they came out of the chickens. This was the biggest black snake I have ever seen in my life.
He
He
found
was,
himself a honey hole.
yes, he was massive. Uh, it had to take him every bit of 2 minutes to get uncoiled and moved away. It just seemed like he went forever. It was just like a conveyor belt of black shiny scales. uh, so I was happy to see him because that meant I didn't have any
Yeah.
poisonous snakes. But I
Or,
wouldn't have
or
minded if he was a little bit smaller.
well, they also eat rodents, don't they? They eat mice and
Oh yeah,
stuff.
yeah. They're
I mean,
great at rats. I just
mm-hmm.
love having black snakes around because if
I
you have
agree.
black snakes, you probably don't have rats. You probably don't have any other snakes. But like this one may have been able to eat a small child. He was so big. I mean, not really,
But
and
yeah, he's a big snake.
someone said something about sacred tradition. Who was that? I think that was Mark. Oh yeah. Mark said just another rebellion against tradition. Uh,
What's
uh,
what
I
tradition? I mean,
Yeah, that's the problem. What tradition? How do
yeah,
you know what's a sacred tradition and what's not?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. Well, it's like in Deuteronomy 22. It's I think 10 says that you should not mix linen and like other materials together. You know what I mean? And
mhm,
it says that you should not take a donkey and an ox and put them together. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Um, I know like the linen, mixing the linen with like whatever the material says. I think it wasn't cotton, but something else. But a lot of that
It's wool.
is your body frequency. You know, the megahertz of your body. And basically, this is brought to me this week. My spiritual father that I call guys, my dad's dead. You know what I mean? The guy that I call the dad, I call father to me. He's been a great influence in my life. He's retired sailor, SWAT guy. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
And he brings up to my attention that basically, that the linen and the clothes we wear affects our body like inflammation. You know what I mean? And
mhm,
I asked my mom, because my mom's a doctor plus a naturopath doctor. And basically, like linen and stuff is like 4,000 megahertz and it will take away inflammation. But like nylon, polyethylene, and these other stuff is like 50 or something. So it causes inflammation. That makes sense. And that's probably the reason why that Bible verse was written in Deuteronomy 22. I think it's 10 or 11 or something like that. I was like, I would never dream that. It's kind of wild. Well, I don't know why we're talking about it, but it's kind of wild. It's like, what we wear affects our body, the information in our body as our joints and ache and stuff. As we get
mhm,
older, I know I experience it, you know what I mean? But for what we wear will cause inflammation to go down and go up.
mhm.
Did you know
So
that?
yeah, I have to deal with that passage a lot because I'm a Torah keeper. I'm a New Testament
Okay.
Christian, but I keep the Old Testament laws, and so
Okay.
people will kind of ask me about that one all the time because the way the Jews apply that is they won't mix any fibers in any garment whatsoever. And
Okay.
they or the Orthodox Jews, the strictest Jews.
Yeah.
And so some people sometimes will like to troll me a little bit and say, "Oh, you check all your clothes for mixed fibers," uh, and I don't because the the command first off, it's only a command for Israelites living in Israel. So I'm not an
Okay.
Israelite. I don't live in Israel, so it's not a command for me anyway. But the command actually is not that you can't mix fibers in a garment. It's that you cannot mix two very specific fibers. You can't mix wool and linen. You could
That's
mix
what it's
any
more than,
other
yeah.
you could mix any other fiber What's Anita saying? You're still here. Condemnation under my feet. What's condemnation under your feet? Uh, so I'm always a little suspicious anytime someone tells me why God promulgated a law, uh,
Okay.
because then I've heard people say that if you can mitigate that reason, you don't have to keep the law. And I'll tell you one that I heard specific. This actually I've heard this multiple times, uh, but I've heard someone say that, oh, well, God outlawed adultery because it was really important so that for you could know who was for paternity reasons. So now that we have paternity tests, adultery is not that big a deal anymore because we can solve that problem without the prohibition on adultery. And of course, that's not why
Yeah.
God forbid
Yeah.
adultery. And it doesn't matter if we, and I've heard someone else say the same thing about antibiotics. Well, the reason why God forbid adultery was for STDs, and now we have antibiotics, and it's just not that big a deal. I swear to God, these are things I've heard alleged believers say.
Seriously.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
I'm not making this up.
I'm like, whoa.
And I'm like,
I mean,
no, we don't. No, don't worry about the reason. You just obey, and then
yeah. I mean, let's just look at adultery. That normally ruins lives and families, don't it?
Yeah.
Lives
Well,
and families are destroyed because of adultery, isn't it?
mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that might be one reason why we don't do adultery is because the destruction that causes people around you is huge.
Mm-hmm. But the main reason why we don't do it is because God forbid it, and that's enough.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
don't need a
100%.
reason.
100%. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. We have to be obedient. We have to be obedient. If we truly believe in God and want to follow God, we have to be obedient. Don't you agree?
oh yeah, yeah. Obedience first, and everything else second.
100%.
It's my life verse. I hate that phrase, but I'm going to use it. My life
Hmm.
verse is Ephesians 12. I believe it's verse 16. It's like the second to last verse in the whole book of Ephesians. Hey, the tradesman's here. Shalom, sir. Yeah, Rob. People come up with some of the. Rob got to go to Ireland this last year and visit our buddy in Ireland. And I've been wanting to talk to Rob about it for a while. You know what, Rob? You need to do one of these live streams with me. That would be kind of fun. Rob used to make videos. I don't know if he still does or not. Which means I haven't been checking his channel, which I probably shouldn't have admitted to his face. Oops, sorry, Rob. I haven't been checking many people's channel though. I've been incredibly busy. Where was I going with that? Oh, I was saying something and I forgot. It doesn't matter.
We were talking about Rob making live streaming and what were we talking about? Yeah, whatever. It's hectic to get over.
Oh, my life verse. I'm sorry, my life verse.
Yeah, you like force. That's what it was. Yeah.
And so at the end of the whole book of Ephesians, which is kind of this dense philosophical, examination of the meaning of the purpose of life, he says, fear God and keep his commands, for this is the whole duty of man.
Okay.
Uh, sometimes the phrase I drives me nuts when people say this. That dog came in and opened the door, and all my heat is flowing out the. Dog drives me nuts. Rob, we will do that. You should be the next guest on the next live stream. Is brother? It's not a religion. It's all about a relationship, and I hate that. I hate that because I don't need a relationship. I have 16 children and a wife. The last thing I need is another relationship. I need a religion. I want a religion.
Okay.
Give me a religion. I want to know how to live in peace with my creator,
Yeah.
I don't need a relationship. Somebody tell me what it is I'm supposed to do. And fear God and keep his commands resonates with me. Okay.
100%.
I can
100%.
do that. So that's my life verse, and it makes me very happy. I have to set this phone down for just a second and light this cigar for real. I can't do it one-handed, so my face is going to disappear, but my voice is still here. But oh yeah, so like all the the Jesus is my boyfriend stuff.
You okay?
Jesus is not your boyfriend. Jesus is your God, and you have to obey first, and then you can get to the love, and you can get to the joy, and you can get to all the fun stuff or the good stuff. But you got to start with obedience.
100%. I mean, without obedience, do you really believe in what you're saying? I
Right.
mean,
Yeah, you don't.
I, you don't, you know what I mean? It's like you tell me you believe in God, but it's okay to sleep with your neighbor every other night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't think you really believe in that. You're just basically BSing me, because you want to feel better about your sin.
So, you want to hear where Rome is right? Mark, are you listening? Mark, are you ready? I'm going to tell you where Rome is right. I'm going to wait till Mark answers. I'm not going to say that. Okay, Mark is listening. I think we've talked about this before. So Rome, and I'm going to put this. I'm going to paraphrase it. I'm going to put it in my words. So this might not be how a Roman Catholic would state this, but Romans would tell you that we have a role to play in our salvation. That we are not so the phrase that gets used a lot by Protestants is sola fide, which is, I believe it's Latin for faith, by faith alone. And we believe that salvation comes by faith alone. And to an extent, that is true, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'll agree with that. To an
Yeah,
extent, yes. Yeah.
but to remain in that faith, we have to have obedience. If if we
100%.
if we just come to faith and then we never put an action to that faith, then we haven't come to a true faith. Uh, yeah, that's faith without works is dead, right? I mean,
Yes, 100%.
we have to acknowledge that. So the caricature of sola fide, and it is a caricature. No Protestant, no real Protestant believes in the caricature of sola fide, where we just say, well, as long as we have faith, that's all that matters. We say that faith brings you into salvation, and then there is a process whereby you have to remain in that salvation. Some people would describe it as justification. That salvation is by faith and justification is by works. Uh, However you want to describe it, but our Roman friends are right in that yes, our salvation requires us to participate through obedience.
100%.
Now we disagree with the things that we have to obey.
Obedient. Yeah. Yeah.
But the principle is one that we would have to affirm. We would have to say yes, obviously. Maybe not even obviously, because there might be. I'm sure there's someone out there who would say no, 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 no. Your obedience has nothing to do with it, and I think that would be a very. I heard you people say once saved, always saved. You haven't ever heard me say once saved, always saved, Mark.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that
I'm not myself either. I will not say, yeah.
that is not a very common belief, I don't think, among most. I know it's out there. There's people who say it, but I don't think they say it in maybe the way that they get accused of. I don't think they apply it in the way that maybe they would get accused of applying it. I'm not even sure what denominations preach once saved, always saved anymore.
Yeah, kind of lost faith.
I'll be right back. I gotta close this door. This dog is letting all my heat out.
It's kind of lost favor, it's kind of a dangerous force, really, because you think that once you do a task, you're good. You know what I mean? And
hey, Ken, let's someone was just Rob was asking who you are, so let's introduce you one more time.
Okay.
Rob, this is Ken from Woodline Tracking. Ken's been around the channel for a long time. And do you still do videos on your channel, Ken?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay, so Ken's,
I do about one a week.
Ken's channel is Woodline Tracking, and he has written this handbook. the Woodline Tracking 4th Generation Knight's Handbook. We were supposed to be talking about it, but we got distracted on all
Get
this other
sidetracked. Yeah.
interesting stuff. It's got a ton of stuff in here. It's a great little book. I'm going to be doing videos out of it for a while as soon as I get back to regular videos. So, but yeah, Ken's just an interesting bon vivant and fellow traveler, and he's just one of us. He's in agreement on all the things where she's supposed to be in agreement. Okay, yeah. So here's where Mark and I radically depart, because he would say without the sacraments you're probably lost, and I would say, what sacraments?
Yeah. Show me that.
show me sacraments.
Yeah. Show me that.
But no, I would say that the works we're required to do are, those laid out in Acts 15, and we could
100%.
probably add charity. I think we would have to say, on a personal level, charity. And what else?
I mean, I would say charity, but also love your neighbors yourself. You know what I mean? Because that's one big thing that we don't really do. We try to always think of ourselves first instead of thinking of our neighbor, or putting other people above ourselves. It's better to give than to receive. Like in was it Acts 20:21? They talk about that. We tend to focus on us, not on spreading the light or spreading God. That the peace. And we can be very selfish. I know in my life I've been very, very selfish on certain issues, and it is truly better to, when God gives us blessings, to give it out to other people, not to hold it back, worrying about, if I'll get more blessings. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Being giving. Is that a good way of saying being giving? Giving of our time, giving of our knowledge, giving of our abilities, but not being fools, not being taken advantage of. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. So Rob asked about sacraments, and I'll let Mark say what he wants to, but so Rome teaches that there's 7 sacraments. I think the Greek Orthodox say this too, and I think some high church Protestants, like Anglicans, will also say this, that there's 7 sacraments. One is ordination, so becoming a priest for them. Another one is communion. Marriage is a sacrament. Baptism is a sacrament. I think confession is a sacrament.
Confessing to a man.
Yeah, I forgot to count. I think that's 5. And maybe I don't know, burial or something. I don't. Mark, you can give us the list of sacraments. They do say there's 7, and I know at least some of them are salvific for them. So baptism, they believe in what I think they call baptismal regeneration. So they would say Rob says his cousin is Greek Orthodox of late. that's a very southern way to say that, Rob. Rob's from Texas. Oh, I did it again. Oh, I drive myself nuts. So yeah, they would say that you have to be baptized to be saved, and that baptism actually will effectuate salvation in some way. I don't know if they would use that term. So they'll do infant baptism.
Yeah.
And they would say the act of baptism forgives all of your sins. And so there's some people with that view that will actually postpone baptism in late in life as they possibly can, in order for that baptism to forgive as many of their sins as possible. And I think most Protestants would struggle with that.
I would struggle with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That kind of takes away from Christ, don't it?
It certainly does seem to me like forgiveness for sins is just one of those things that I'm not ever gonna not be able to ascribe to Christ's atonement and nothing else, you know. And they do say that, well, baptism, you know, somehow does away with your sins through Christ. You know, that Christ has chosen to apply that forgiveness to you through baptism. But I still struggle with that. Rob's like, do I need to give you a lesson on smoking a cigar? I smoke them pretty good when I smoke them. The problem is I stopped smoking them to talk because Ken is interesting and you men all have interesting oh, like Mark says yes dot dot dot. So he's agreeing me partially. So you can tell me what I get wrong there. But yeah, and then of course what we call communion or they call Eucharist. Oh, Mark, I'll tell you somewhere else that I've decided Rome has some is right, but this isn't going to make you happy. So, you know, we most Protestants have a view of communion that is called the memorial. What I don't know. We say that communion is a memorial of Christ's sacrifice, and so when Christ said, uh, this is my body and this is my blood," as often as you do it, you do this
Yeah.
in remembrance of me. And so we really emphasize the memorial part of of the, let's just call it a ceremony for uh argument's sake. And so yeah, we and and the Rome and the East, they would say that there's a real presence in the bread and the wine, that the bread and wine is somehow infused with the real presence of Christ. Now they go and then they turn that into transubstantiation, and they say the bread and the wine is literally, truly, actually, literally the blood and body of Christ. And I can't go that far, but I think I have decided that they are correct, that there is somehow on some level a real presence in what the host, the bread and the wine is is called the host, and that there is a real presence, but I can't go to transubstantiation. I think where I'm going to land when I'm done thinking about it all is that the real presence is somehow infused on a spiritual level, but not a physical level. When a when a true believer faithfully receives the 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 bread and the wine. Uh, Now I can't go so far as to say that the substance of the bread and the wine has changed. That this is still all on a spiritual level. But you know, Paul tells us that this is so important that you can die, you can get sick and die from taking communion unworthily, right? So this is a big deal. I think we can say, I think I can say with some some pretty strong confidence that there is some element of the real presence that is probably true. Uh, but I can't go to transubstantiation. The other thing I'm willing to do after I've dug through all this, Rome, and I think the East, and well, actually, this is actually probably the Roman belief that extends the farthest into the Protestant world, is that they call Mary the mother of God, right? And I can't go there. I can't do that. But what I can do is I can say what Elizabeth said when she saw Mary, and she said, "How is it that the mother of my Lord has come to me?" And and
Lord.
the Greek there that gets used is two different words, mater and kyrios. And of course, I'm butchering that pronunciation. So, and that's in the Bible. And if it's in the Bible, we cannot claim to be good Protestants and argue with it, right? So I think it can be accurate to call Mary the mother of our Lord, the Mater Kyrios, or however you pronounce it. But I can't go as far as
God.
Theotokos, mother of God, or I'm
Yeah, I
sorry,
agree.
God bearer. So
Yeah.
Theotokos is the Greek phrase God bearer, and I can't go there uh, because I'm too much of a Trinitarian, and calling Mary the mother of God sounds too much like a Unitarian description of the Trinity to me. Because yes, Jesus is fully God, but the Trinity works two ways, right? We got one God in three persons, and we've got three persons in one God. It has to work both ways. You can't separate it and just have uh, a one way
And
view of the Trinity. You know, God the Father is so what they say, and Mark's about to say it, is Jesus is God, and we believe that, right?
yeah.
And then they say Mary is the mother of Jesus, so we don't deny that. And so then they make it into this mathematical formula where A equals B, B equals C, so C equals A, uh, and say so Mary is the mother of God, and that could be correct if you immediately then turned around and said the Father is God, Mary is not the mother of the Father, ergo Mary is not the mother of God. And so you would, if you're going to turn it into this mathematical formula, you have to do all the elements of the mathematical problem. Uh, and so you would have to end up saying Mary is the mother of God, Mary is not the mother of God, and you've canceled yourself out because you can't be a Trinitarian and say that Jesus. This gets so hard because the Trinity is so hard and we don't understand it and we can't
Yes.
explain it. It's a
We can
paradox.
understand. Yes.
And I think that's my real problem with calling Mary the Theotokos, the God bearer, is that you're trying to resolve something that shouldn't be resolved. You know, we can't understand the Trinity. We can't
I
make it
agree.
into something easy and pat
Yeah.
and come up with
For
this
human.
this mathematical formula that we then can say, and so we can make definitive statements about God's existence. I'm just not okay with that, and I'll never
Yeah.
be okay with that. But I could absolutely call there.
Lord.
Yeah, the mother of the Lord, mother of our
Yeah.
Lord, or there was another one of the big controversies that happened early in the church was over this very issue, and I think it was Arius wanted to call Mary the Christ bearer, the mother of Christ. I could absolutely go there. I could say that all day long, you know. Uh, and this is one of the things that makes me a little bit angry about these debates, because I feel like it's putting me in a position where I have to be mean to Mary,
Yeah.
and
Pick a side. Yeah.
I don't want to be mean to Mary. I
Yeah.
I I think Mary is a unique figure in all
Yeah.
of human history. I think she's very admirable, and
Mhm.
Hail Mary, full of grace, blessed art thou among women. I would love to be able to, but I can't go that next step. I can't say that Mary bore the totality of the Trinity, and I can't say that you can separate Christ out from the Trinity, and I can't say that Christ is the totality of the Trinity, even if Christ is the totality of I don't know. It just gets too complicated, and it's just not a statement I'm willing to make. You know?
Yeah. I agree because you go down a lot of rabbit holes. Um, and again, why should we make it? What
Yeah.
is the
Again,
what is the benefits of making this?
what is the benefit of even treading into
Yeah.
this territory? Uh,
Yeah.
why raise any questions at all about something as important as the Trinity and
Yeah.
Christ?
And we can't
relation to
understand
the
it. I mean,
Father.
we can debate about it, but we can't. It's beyond us at this phase in our life. If I use a better example, I
Yeah.
think our time can be used much better other way, other places in studying other things than to debate over stuff that doesn't amount to hill beans.
Yeah. So he brought up the other one there too, born without sin. Another thing that, and this, and I think the Greeks do this too, as well as the Romans, say that Mary was born without sin, that she was sinless from her birth, and she never sinned once, and that she actually was not in need of salvation. That
How'd they
she,
get that?
it's it's a
I
it's a
mean,
little it's a little convoluted. uh it all is based off of that greeting the angel gives Mary in Luke chapter 1, where he says, "Hail Mary, full of grace."
yeah.
And so they say, because she was full of grace, that must have meant she couldn't have had any sin. uh i I personally think that's getting a little too,
Yeah,
uh
in the
a
weed.
little a little too glib with the text. She can be full of favor. She could be a really good woman. I mean, she could even be the best woman who ever lived. I mean, you could make all kinds of statements that I wouldn't argue with, but I can't go to that she was born without sin.
Yeah.
That
Well,
that to
not
me,
only
that seems
born,
like a contradiction of
yeah,
of the Bible.
yeah,
And I'm sure Rome has an answer, because these aren't, obviously Rome knows the passage, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God.
yeah.
None is righteous, no, not one. I'm sure they have an answer for that. But whatever answer they
That's all they
come up
do.
with wouldn't be enough for me. I couldn't get over that. Uh, you know,
You think it's
all
the man's answer?
none is righteous. Mary is one, so you know none can't work here for me. There's actually five Marian dogmas. I told you I've really gone down a rabbit hole on this stuff lately. It's fascinating. That, and I have defiance disorder, and it's easier for me to learn about things from people I disagree with, because it's more interesting to have the debates
Yeah,
in my head than
yeah.
people I agree with kind of bore me. Not you, but so so there's five Marian dogmas. Mark can help us out with this. One is that she's the mother of God. The other is that she was born without sin. Oh, the other one is her perpetual virginity, that she remained a virgin for her entire life.
She
Another
had
one is,
kids.
what's that?
She had other kids.
Well, they have an answer for that. It's not a convincing answer, but it's
Okay.
to me
Yeah,
that's the
I know you
least
go.
problematic of the Marian dogmas, because again, all right, fine, who cares? It doesn't specifically say that she wasn't a perpetual virgin. It seems highly likely to me that it was, that's the simplest, most straightforward reading of the text. Uh, but fine, they have an explanation. It doesn't do extreme violence to the text. What they say is that those people in Scripture who are listed as the brothers of Christ were actually his cousins. That the word that's used for brother there can also mean cousins. I haven't
Okay.
heard. Yeah, they also say he had a sister, and I haven't heard if they're saying she's a cousin too or not.
Now, what are they using? Like the Greek, or what are they using to come
Yeah,
up with
so
this?
so the Greek word is a delphos or a delphois or
Okay.
delphoi, and so they said yes, it can mean biological brother, but it can also mean any male relative, uncle, cousin type deal. Uh, and so since there's a possibility it could mean cousin, they have to assume that it does mean cousin, uh, because this is an important belief. So this is one of their infallible dogmas that got proclaimed. It got proclaimed very late. I believe it was like in the 1850s. So it was a very,
Oh,
very long time before this got proclaimed as a dogma. But they're kind of stuck with it now. and
Hmm.
I feel bad, but you know, it was a choice. They made a
Yeah,
choice and they're
yeah,
stuck with it.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. That's kind of the way.
I know I'm forgetting the bodily assumption. So they say she may or may not have died. They don't take a stance on that one way or the other. But they say whether or not she died, her body was taken up to heaven and never experienced corruption. So that she still exists in her earthly body in heaven. They would say the way Elijah and Enoch were.
Okay, okay.
So there
They would
is
say that.
there is a
Well, what do you
biblical
think?
precedent for an event like that happening. Uh,
Okay. Well, do you think Elijah was taken to heaven, or do you think he was taken to a different place?
uh, I always assumed it was heaven. I haven't dug into it any deeper than that. I would have to go look and see
Okay.
what it says. I honestly, I had never thought about it before.
Okay. Well, my son's studying about what is people going to heaven. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I challenge him to source the Bible and think for yourself and use the Bible as a guide. And when he talked to Elijah, I don't know. There is people like the great whirlwind that comes, and prophets were looking for him. They think he might have been taken to a different mountain. Plus, they have later on him writing a letter to a king saying, "You will die for your disobedience." So there is some, again, more that he, if like people want to say he was raptured to heaven, there is some doubt in that because he later on they have him writing a letter to a king saying that you will die for your disobedience more. I forget the king's name. And when he was taken away by whirlwinds or chariot, you know what I mean, they're talking about other prophets were looking for him in other mountains, thinking he was just taken to a different mountain. Kind of interesting. Now, that's all I know, just talking to my son as he's trying to put this together as
Yeah.
what happens when you die. That makes sense? As heaven, basically they talk about heaven, a lot of times they talk about heaven in the sky, as Christ talks to the thief on the cross as paradise. Do you go to paradise? That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's an interesting thing. That's about the most that I know of it. I'm hoping to know
Yeah,
more as we.
I'm not familiar with any of that. I've never done a deep dive. Anti food YouTube YT. He's a someone must have changed their screen name. He's I don't recognize this name, but he's a moderator, so he must be someone I know. But he put some
Mhm.
emojis, and I can't. I'm getting so old, I can't see what the emojis actually are. But he tagged me in it, so I'm sorry, I just can't read the emojis on this small screen. Anti. Who are you? Tell me who you are. I don't recognize your screen name. But it's a moderator, so it's someone I know.
Well, yeah.
uh, so yeah, I feel like I'm missing one of the dogmas, but I can't think of which one it was. The Marian dogmas. So it's Mother of God, born without, they call it the Immaculate Conception. She's born without sin, perpetual virginity, bodily assumption. I feel like there's one more I'm forgetting. Uh, is anyway, I don't know. It's that bothers me because I actually have been looking into this stuff, and I hate it that I'm forgetting this one. But maybe there's only four, and I just thought it was five.
Yeah. It happens when you get
But
old,
yeah,
don't it?
it's been fun. I've enjoyed it. I've gotten into some great debates online. Uh, I love online debates. That's one of my happy places is flame wars online. Maybe maybe Anarchy Television is anti Fuyu YT. I can't tell what's going on here. It doesn't matter. I don't want a bunch of dead space.
So, Zach, what do you think of my book?
So first off, I actually want to be a little effusive for a minute.
Go ahead.
I love everything about it, but I absolutely love the vision and the ambition and the follow through. To me, those are just incredibly manly, masculine traits that so many of us don't uh, uh, exhibit. I'm terrible about, I got these great ideas and no follow through, and I never get anything done. This was a serious work. I mean, this took effort, this took dedication, this took time, uh, and 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 this effort in and of itself has value. And even if the information wasn't good, we'll get to the information in a minute. But even if the information wasn't good, the effort and the just the sheer determination and the perseverance to see a project to the end was valuable in and of itself. Like all art is valuable, all
Mhm.
masculine endeavors are valuable. Uh, so far, I have not found one thing in here that I didn't think was not only accurate but also tactic. I'm sure you can always quibble with this detail or
You
that
can
detail,
debate anything.
but I have not seen
Yes.
one thing in here that wasn't uh, extremely detailed and accurate and valid. Uh, Even if like the term, just me like being a Marine, so I've got terminology and vocabulary that's
Hmm.
unique to me. Uh, or like if you put a Marine and a like a soldier and ask them to describe tactics, small unit tactics, my small unit tactics would be based on 4-man teams, and the Army
Hmm.
small unit tactics would be 6-man teams or 2-man teams. So like, there's always going to be little differences like that. Uh, but yeah, so I see you use the 6-man squad. Here I'm on page chapter 3, the Y formation,
Okay.
page 6
That's
of
more of a
8.
tracking formation, but yeah.
Uh, and you're talking about a 6-man squad.
Mhm.
So like, I would think of a 4-man fire team, but all the information is the same. It's just the vocabulary is. I'm going to give up on this thing because I can't keep it lit. If Rob is still with us, he's laughing at me. I probably use a pack of matches per cigar. Uh, so
Why
let's
don't you
look
use
at.
a lighter?
Oh, it's about the process. For me, the
Okay.
matches are like, it's not. So, we got chapter 1 is basic training,
Hmm.
and then you go into all the formations. So file formation, Y formation, line formation, flanking and attacking. So we used different names for those, uh, but I can't think of them all off the top of my head. So react to contact, uh, advanced small team tactics, homestead defense. Uh, if I was going to have a criticism,
Hmm.
I and this is not a criticism, so please
Be
don't.
honest. Just be
I
honest.
I
I don't take
probably would
offense.
have made homestead defense probably chapter 2,
Okay.
just because in my opinion it would be so much more relevant to most people's experience or needs. Let's say that most people's needs.
Yeah.
You know, obviously patrolling is very very important, but I would say that the homestead defense is probably on the hierarchy of needs
I
there.
can't argue with that because you got a place to walk out of. You don't have a place to
Yeah,
walk out, you have nothing.
yeah. Uh, so what would be the difference between security patrols and say, like, wouldn't that go in with all the formations or maybe even basic training? Or why are security
Well,
patrols?
the biggest thing that I found in my years of doing this,
Mhm.
basically, when you're going out like on a patrol, why are we out there? What are we trying to do? So we try to define it as what is our main purpose here, like a security patrol. We're here to secure this area because we got to safeguard this area. You know what I mean? Basically, and we want to go around here and do this. And then the biggest problem we ran into was like if the security patrol was going to be we don't peacock it. Like they see us, we don't put a big show on here. Don't come mess with us. You know what I mean? Kind of like the police.
Mm-hmm.
Or are we going to sit here and move from shadow to shadow, waiting to see who comes through here and deal with them they come through here? That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in my experience, it was we had to define it as something. So we defined it as like security patrol and basically like and then like a reconnaissance patrol because we're trying to get information. That'd be more of the tracking end of it is here. Why we're going out here? Because we're trying to find information on what is out here and what is going on for whatever reasons they would give us. Like, hey, we want to know this information about this area. You know what I mean? So they would give us an IR order saying, hey, we want to know on these trails who's using them, what's using them. You know what I mean? What do you think? Are they going one time? Are they going marijuana in this area? It makes sense. We would go out, do the box recon or whatever recon we was, or you know what I mean, whatever we thought we needed to do best to go through here to put this together. The reason why we try to break it down was because, in my experience, many times people just wander around the woods or wander around this countryside, not knowing what to do, why they're out here. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I, I'm up for better ways of saying it, but if I was telling you that basically our second perimeter is this of our compound, okay? We
Mm-hmm.
need you to perform security patrol from here and down this street. That makes sense. You see, checking with the neighbors, make sure the neighbors are all right. Lack of a better example, and basically come back here and report what you see. That makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. So they have an idea. We're here to secure this area, the safeguard up and down the road, and basically this is what we're doing. Now you can jump back and forth between Peacock or Shadow, whatever you think is best, but you need to come back here with the information and make sure this area is safe. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So my next question would be,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe I just missed it because I haven't read it from cover to cover. You know, I've jumped around here
Go
and there,
ahead.
but I
Mhm.
didn't see anything about range estimation, and I didn't see anything about map reading or land navigation. Did I just miss
Well,
those?
there's a whole
What's that?
chapter right there now.
Well, then I
Chapter
what?
22, I think chapter 22 is land nav. In fact, we go in heavy into land nav because I think land nav
Oh
is
my
a
God!
key.
There's a
Yeah,
whole part of the. I never saw the rest of those on the back page.
yeah,
The table of contents.
yeah. Well, land nav is a key, in my opinion, for the guys that I train as I trying to become knights. I mean, just like a battle award, because there's so much involved as if we're doing security patrol. Where are we
Mhm.
at? How do we report this back to HQ? What we found here? I mean, you need to give an 8 digit grid or what, you know? So
Mhm.
land nav is key. We even go into nighttime land nav into this because being lost doesn't help anybody. You agree?
Mhm. Right.
Uh, I think it's a thing that most people overlook because how often is land nav when you're time of the Marines? How often is your time or my time in the Defense Force or doing security or doing whatever? How much time, how much things involve land nav when you're out there doing something?
Oh,
Just about
everything.
everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Everything. Yeah.
And it's a thing that a lot of people want to poo-poo, but it's something you should have a working knowledge of. Again, you don't need to be 100% great, but you need to be able to tell you this is my 8 digit grid. Don't you agree?
Oh
Without
yeah.
using GPS.
Mhm. So I completely missed the land nav,
Mhm,
especially the map section. I found it as soon as you said what chapter it was in.
mhm.
So yeah, you got good information on reading maps. I think reading topographical maps is one of the most overlooked skills.
I
Uh,
agree.
Now maybe that's because I live in the mountains and there's so much terrain features. I have found that land nav is really, really, really easy with a topographical map in my area. Like
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't have to do pace counts or anything. You know,
Yep.
I can just look around, look at the map, and I know exactly where I'm at just by orienting off of the terrain features. Now that was not the case like in Camp Lejeune where it's just one giant
Mhm.
swamp. and there's no terrain features whatsoever. Uh,
Yeah, and
but
there's
and
places
so,
in
do you
Ohio
have a
like that.
section on range estimation? Did I miss that too?
On range estimation, no. I'll go into that next. What I did was, I'm not a sniper. My
Mhm.
brother went to sniper school and did all that. Okay, so let's just use that as an example. Okay, I am basically I'm good with 300 yards. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
can shoot good. I'll hold it for most of them. But as for range estimation, like with a scope, now I go into range estimation like the land nav in the land nav and then also in the appendix of land nav that you probably have. But I did not want to go past or like onto DM work or sniper work because I didn't feel
Mhm.
qualified doing that. And my goal behind this was to put together a basic handbook of skills that guys want to become a knight with. And then once you become a knight, if you were a sniper or a guy into that kind of stuff, you can take this and teach your squires, lack of a better word, and make it. Well, I'm going to teach in my program here more on more on DM, more on sniping because that's what I have done. So I'm going to tailor this to what I have done
Mhm.
off the basic stuff here to fit what I want to do. So I wanted to keep it to a basic of a general thing that makes you a very good qualified person. But if you were looking for more of a DM or sniper, you go talk to my brother. You're looking for more of track and reconnaissance, somebody come to me. That makes sense. Or if one guy was looking for more basic infantry, something like that, you come to you. I mean,
Mhm.
that's what I'm looking for is to give it to people the ability to adjust it after they get the basics down to fit. Because I could go on and on and on and on, and I wanted to keep it under 300 pages because there's only so much you can take in.
Right.
That makes sense?
So I think this book should be on everyone's shelf. So this is like, we're talking about the 1%, since you just asked me my opinion. I
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
I I do think range estimation is a basic skill, like the basic riflemanship skill or basic marksmanship
Mhm.
skill. Maybe not, like you said, to the precision level, certainly not out past 300 yards. But I do think range estimation does make, and it doesn't matter if you're shooting a 5.56 at a standing target at 300 yards, because you're with the
Yeah,
5.56
yeah.
drop, you're going to hit.
You don't hit the guy.
However, if you're shooting at someone in the prone, if you're shooting at someone in
Mhm.
partial cover, then I think range estimation does become more important. Uh, and I would probably think that would I would think that belongs in a book of this skill level. In
Okay.
my the other
So I
thing,
could
the other thing I would say, and I am not qualified to tell you how to do this because you are clearly the subject matter expert and I am not. But I look at some of these later chapters and I keep thinking, oh, wow, that's really good information. That should be higher up. Oh, wow, that's really good information. That should be higher up. So, like, I would look at loadout orders and planning. And I just think from a linear standpoint,
Mhm.
that comes before patrols and formations, because that literally comes before the patrol and
Yeah.
formation. You got to have your loadout. You got to
Yeah.
what your. So I would think those skills or that knowledge comes first in the organization of the.
Mhm.
But I can't criticize one thing that you've actually said in here. So again, so this is really, really, really petty stuff, and
Okay, go ahead. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear it.
so, like, I would look at, so you got basic training, and then I would look at maybe moving basic shooting drills, pistol target, rifle target,
Mhm.
uh, land navigation, and then loadouts and orders. I would think about moving those farther up in the
The
table of
line.
contents, and then the meat of it, because the patrolling and the formations and all that stuff is the actual meat. That's the rubber meets the road. But all of those things are dependent on those skills. It almost looks like you started with the most important thing and worked backwards. but it almost feels like some of those less important things are the foundational things you need to be able to get to the most important thing, you know? But that's
Oh, I
just,
agree. I agree. The biggest problem I see, it used to be when I had to go out to other militia groups that were in Ohio, they would call up to the local sheriff or Ohio, a home defense and all this stuff. We would have to go out and give them counsel what they're doing. The biggest thing what they had was they had no structure of the basics of what is our hand signals, what is our orders, how do we tell these guys what they're supposed to do? Does that make sense?
mm-hmm,
You know, and that is the biggest comment I see with a lot of 2A people that are trying to do good is that we don't have a basic structure of what we're trying to do here or goals, and everything gets lost in the weeds. That make
mm-hmm,
and we have to keep it keep it simple, stupid. Do you agree?
mm-hmm. Yeah. I would counter and say that those skills that you got in the back of the book are the simple skills that allow you to build up to those more complex skills.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I agree
But
with that.
but all the information is there. The fact that it's in a different order does not mean that it is not accessible in, any way. I just my question would be, God, I feel like I'm criticizing. I feel like I'm
Go
going
ahead.
to Michelangelo and asking him why. Yeah, I'm overblowing it a little bit, but well, these are really petty questions, but uh, the purpose of the formation is to be able to bring accurate fire onto a threat. So if you're going to patrol, first you need to be able to put down accurate fire.
Mhm.
If you're going to patrol, you need to be able to communicate what the patrol's about. What you're taking on the patrol. Uh, and if someone started at the beginning of the book and was just going to read through, they they might be going out on patrols that they're not going to be effective. They might be very good at the formations and the movement, but then they might not have the skills. Uh,
No, that's just where you said that because I didn't look at it that way. I looked at it as I'm writing this as to people like knights or squires being trained by people, and basically this is more of a reminder to them as if I have to
yeah.
look up how to do an IR order, I'll go to this page to look up to make sure I fill out the IR order, or how do I fill up the warning order, you know what I mean, or whatever
Mhm.
order it is. I looked at it as somebody that had nobody to talk to. I can see that. I never thought of it that way. That makes sense?
Yeah, and maybe I am thinking about it as too basic of a level of book. Maybe I'm
Hmm.
thinking of it. You're aiming it at you know someone with a base knowledge, and I'm thinking of this as someone. Uh, oh, Mark has a good point. Fitness is much overlooked. I cannot
100%.
argue there at all, and he is right. Uh,
Well, the last video I did, I put down the 5 things that we need to work on or basically prepare for. Fitness was
mhm,
second. The number one was, of course, spiritual. That makes sense. And I can't overlook that as fitness. I know in my life as being 48, I try to work out 5 times a week, heavy,
mhm,
just for the fact of as my mom being a doctor, basically I can see benefit when you're physically active and you keep yourself safe. It's going to save a lot of surgeries and health problems as you get older. Does that make sense? As long as
mhm.
you stay in shape.
Yeah, it
You
would be
know, um,
it would be interesting to sort of come up with some like minimal physical fitness standards. Like I would say something along the lines of, can you carry 20 pounds a mile in
yeah,
X amount of minutes or something? Nothing crazy. We're not trying to make
yeah,
anyone SEAL Team 6 here,
yeah.
but
Can you
keep
run a mile in this time? You know what I mean? A reasonable
yeah.
time. You know what I mean?
Like 20 pounds is not an unreasonable. If you start putting a rifle, ammo, some water, and maybe some basic uh, rations or for a day or two or something. Maybe a
Yeah.
poncho liner and a you're easily going to be at 20 pounds. A
Easy.
first aid
Yeah.
kit. So can you carry 20 pounds a
Yeah.
mile in? I don't even know what would be a reasonable time to carry 20 pounds a mile. I know we tried to do 3 miles an hour when we were humping in the core, but I was
Yeah.
20. But we were also carrying 60, 70, sometimes 80
Yeah.
pounds. So, like, what would be a reasonable amount of time to be able to do a mile with 20
I
pounds?
would I would say 10 minutes.
I,
I would say
I
10 minutes.
I'm not 100% sure I can do that anymore.
I bet you can. I bet you if you do a little bit of walk, you could do it.
Well, I mean, I'm sure if someone was, chasing me, I could.
Yeah. I mean, but that's really what makes us better than makes us, to push ourselves more is to keep on striving to do higher standards. That makes sense? You know what I mean? I would say again, you might do it 11 or 12 now, but let's try to make it in 10 minutes. That makes sense. 20 pounds on our back, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Moving. Um, I know it used to be I would have to run like I think it was 11 or 12 minutes in recon to make, and that was a mile and a half. That makes sense?
Mhm.
Um, basically, again, but that was younger. But I would say, if we tried to, again, standards, the problem is in America here, we tend to set low standards. You agree?
Yeah. Let's look
You,
at this though. Let's say
okay, go ahead.
you age out of the militia at 60, right?
Yes, that is true.
Uh, so like, what could to set the bare minimum, because that's kind of what we're talking about here. What would be
Yes,
the
that's what I
bare
said. Yeah.
minimum? So, what would be the bare minimum that you would expect the average 60-year-old man to be able to? And as a 50-year-old man, I don't. I think I have a little bit of credibility here to
Mhm.
make fun of 60-year-old men. That you would expect a 60-year-old man to be able to do a mile with 20 pounds.
Well, I know a 64-year-old man that could do that 20 pounds in a mile in 10 minutes pretty easy. I'm being
Yeah.
honest.
I mean, I know a 74-year-old man who probably could too.
Yeah.
He does 100-mile a day bike rides, but
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
let's talk about the average 60-year-old man.
That's a tough thing. Because you want to challenge them, but you don't want to beat them in the ground and cause problems. That makes
Right.
sense. You make
You
it unrealistic. I totally agree with that.
yeah,
Um,
you don't want to cause anyone to give up and just drop out.
yeah, you don't. Yeah, 100%. I 100% agree with that. Um, yeah, I mean, phew, 20 pounds. I mean, that's basically just your rifle, some ammo, like you said, some food. That makes sense, and water. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, it's not that much weight. If
It's
you
not that
had
much
to
weight at
add a
all.
sleeping bag or some
Mhm.
shelter or something, you
Um,
very quickly be up around 40
I
pounds.
would say, honestly, top of my head, 12 minutes would be the bare minimum. Do you agree with that?
Uh, Again, I honestly don't know. Like, anything I said would be sheer speculation.
I know.
And and are
Good.
we
I
at
know. Good.
elevation changes? Or are we talking about
Yeah.
flat ground? That
I'm talking
that should be a
somewhat.
video I do.
Yeah.
That should
I
be a
know.
video.
I know the average person on semi flat ground for tracking when we actually had to look at people. In fact, it'd be in my appendix tracking to my handbook because again, I didn't want to add too much into it. I just want to keep the basics. 3 miles per hour was average is what you could expect somebody moving through there. And if I remember with light gear, I think it got down to in light gear and bush, off the top of my head, I think it was like 2 miles the you was expected. That makes sense?
Mhm.
2 miles of light gear moving to somewhat hilly but bush for an average trained gorilla. That makes sense? Was about
Mhm.
2 miles. You could expect that they could get away with you. If I remember top of my head on the charts we used to use to try to figure out how far they could go. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, uh, but of course, we're talking 20, 30 years. We're not talking 60. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, I would say, off top of my head, I would say if you could move a mile, jog a mile with 20 pounds in 12 minutes, I would think you would be doing well. I mean, I think that would be a
I
beginning
think
good
that'd be
starting.
really well because, like
Yeah,
I said, in the core we tried to hump full weight at 3 miles an hour.
yeah,
So we're talking about 20-minute miles. Now
yeah.
that's significantly more
What?
weight than 20 pounds.
Yeah, we had 60, 80 pounds on you?
Yeah, at least. Yeah,
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 that was about right. 60 to 80. That would be pretty
yeah,
standard.
yeah.
You're,
And of course, you were
it would
20.
never be much more than that.
Yeah,
Uh,
you know, because after that start losing proficiency. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um, uh, physical fitness is a hard problem because here in America, we really dropped the ball on physical fitness. You agree?
Oh yeah.
And I've been guilty of it myself as I get
Oh yeah.
older. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And there's different types of physical fitness too. Like I can split firewood for hours and not
100%.
stop,
Yeah.
but I'm not 100% sure I can run. I'm actually no, I'm very confident I can't run 3 miles anymore. I'm not 100% sure I could run a mile anymore. I don't even have any running shoes to run a mile. I'd have to run in boots. uh,
And yeah.
so yeah, I wonder if standard like 20 pounds, 1 mile on average terrain in 20 minutes. Yeah, that sounds doable, but
Yeah.
also challenging.
It'd be
Maybe
fun
not
to see if people,
challenging. That sounds like a minimum standard to me. That
yeah.
if someone could do that, I wouldn't feel like they were an anchor. You know,
Yeah.
they're not holding me back. And then, sure, you want to tighten up the standards from there.
Mhm.
But I honestly, that's just pure speculation on my part. That was a
Mhm.
really, really, really good observation, Mark. I
Yeah.
hate, I hate giving Rome any credit, but there's one more thing I agree with Rome on now.
It's also hard because I know the standard we have is try to be the best physical shape for your age and your physical fitness. Because if you have injuries, it makes it tougher. That makes sense. You know what I mean? Everybody's a little bit different on their issues. You know what I mean? I have one squire that trains with me that has a double lung transplant. That makes sense. But
Hmm.
he's there every training, every time, doing anything and everything with somebody else's lungs in him. That makes sense because he's committed to become a knight someday. That makes sense. And you have to admire that. You agree? You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And he's like 62. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
it's not like he is, sort of slack. He's just truly dedicated. And he was a former army guy too in his younger days. You know what I mean? And he just happened to have lung problems, for whatever reason. God gave it to him, and God gave him another chance of life by giving him a lung transplant. That makes sense. He's an
Hmm.
interesting guy. Um,
Can you
and
believe we
and
live in an age where they can do things like a double lung transplant? What a what an amazing thing. That is
yeah,
insane to even think about
that
that.
is thing. Yeah,
For
and
a brief moment, this guy's chest was cracked so far
yep,
open and he had no lungs and
yep,
he's still alive.
yeah. And honestly, he kind of huts and puffs sometimes, but he handles it and does extremely well. That makes sense. So I like to use him as a example. Because like there's a guy that if he wanted to give up, he's a guy that give up. But man, unless you knew it, he can run with most of the 60-year-olds. That makes sense. And he has some younger person's young lungs in him. That makes sense because he's committed to wants to become better. You know what I mean? And he never misses. He comes every week, twice a week for training, and basically is just like bravo, bravo. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, another question: what do you think for marksmanship?
I'm torn on this question because in some cases I want to say, oh, let's make it as easy as possible because any marksmanship is better than 99% of what everyone's doing. On the other hand, it's such an important skill that I want to make it more difficult. We have a problem here on the East Coast
Okay,
uh, in that we don't have access to longer ranges. Most of us, you know, I
okay,
haven't shot past 100 yards. Maybe so. I was able to shoot at 175 yards about 2 or 3 years ago. Uh, Actually, I think Rob might have been there. Rob, were you at Sasquatch's place when Aid and Ear was up there? I can't remember if Rob was there or not. He might have been. I know Wes was there and Aid was there. Uh, and so that's probably that 175 yards was the most I was able to shoot since the Marine Corps, probably.
Okay.
So most of us around here, we only have access to 100-yard ranges. So really, the standard is going to have to be something at 100 yards.
Okay.
Because those other ranges now they are. I mean, I shouldn't say there's no access, but it's limited and it's so. So I can go to the national forest ranges
Okay.
that are, and those are all 75 to 100. Most of them are 100 yards. Some of them are 75 yards. And that's what I have convenient access to. And that's what I'm going to do most of my shooting at is 100 yards because that's where I can go. So I feel like it needs to be 100-yard standard. And, sometimes I'm thinking MOA, just shooting an MOA group because most of us have scoped ARs. And if you can't get close to MOA at 100 yards with a scoped AR, then you need to practice more because that's pretty doable, or at least sub 2 MOA.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about, basically the Woodline's night qualifications for rifle is within 100, same thing you said. Guys don't have access. So we try to keep it 100 yards or closer. Like one of the drills is basically you have to be able to stand there, non-supported, standing there and hit a 12 by 12 at 7 out of 10 times.
I like that. Yeah. Because offhand is difficult shooting.
Yeah.
Even if you're doable. A good shot, offhand is difficult.
But it's something that most people have access to. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. And if you can do that, it'll carry on to other drills. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Just
my Marine Corps background, we really emphasize, known distance ranges and shooting fundamentals, and just because I have that background, I would always be interested in those skills because no matter how you're shooting, if you know the fundamentals of marksmanship, you're gonna be a better shot.
100%.
You can do breath control and proper trigger and then support
alignment. Yeah. All that,
But
I mean,
I think anything at 100 yards where you're putting, I like that 7 out of 10 shots idea because that's kind of more realistic. If you're actually on a rest and you're on a table or prone, at 100 yards, it's really hard to miss with an AR-15. You kind of have to be trying to miss at 100, especially if you've got any kind of optic on it.
Yeah, and there's no limit, whatever sight you want to use. That makes sense, just be fast. We would say be fast and accurate, try to put shots on target because it is how do I want to say this? I'll tell a story here. I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago down in Florida. There was a situation where two guys go in to rob a jewelry store, okay? And they dressed up like they were black and they looked white, okay? And they did put mask on and they act like they was driven a package, okay? Well, the owner of the jewelry store, and again, you'll see this in my writings, in my book, the handbook and the appendixes, thought it was kind of odd that these guys were here trying to deliver a package. Well, maybe they're here for something. Let's open up and see. He follows no protocol of asking questions before he opens the door. That makes sense. So anything. They come in, they take him at gunpoint. So it's armed robbery, okay? Mm-hmm. His gun is in the back of the store. Again, your gun isn't on you, so it doesn't do you much good. You agree? So then they rob him, okay? So they go out to the back where they have a van that they're waiting to leave in, okay? And the guy's waiting to take them off, all right? So this is planned. Mm-hmm. He gets his gun, shoots one of the guys in the back. Now, again, this is one of the things I preach to people is, at this point, the lateral force, as you'll find in I think it's chapter 28, I talk about is you got to be appropriate on how you use force. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you can get in trouble using the wrong force. Well, at this point, it's really questionable because he is The guy's leaving. His life isn't really in danger. You know what I mean? He shoots him in the back, instead of it would have been no brainer if he shot him on armed robbery, because at that point, he's armed robbing you. Nobody's in, I mean, you have every right to protect yourself and your things.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, they get away. But of course, now they are compromised because they got a guy that's shot. They got to deal with this, and the van shot up. Okay. So they see a UPS truck. And the guy that is driven the UPS is walking around. He's new to the job. And of course, he's not paying attention to his baseline, as we would say, as what is normal for the behavior of people around me. And when stuff comes out of the baseline, what should we be looking for and what we should be doing? And of course, there's video of this guy coming up to him, and you can see a long ways away. This guy's acting funny. I mean, there's something wrong here. He comes up, takes the guy hostage, throws him back in the van. Both of them gets in the UPS van and drives off. So now they got a hostage, okay? Meanwhile, somebody sees this. The police come in, rolling in after them. To make a long story short, the van gets pinned into a congested area of a freeway, like 4 or 5 lanes, okay? And there's cars everywhere. The police come rolling in because they're excited. You know what I mean? I don't know if you've been in gunfire or not, but they're excited of all of this going on. And they just start opening up on the van. And they shoot hundreds and hundreds of rounds at this van, killing the 2 bad guys, the hostage, and I think killing 1 or 2 innocent people in vehicles around them, and injuring many people. Okay, because again, they're doing the spray and pray method, not what do I see, being fast and accurate. Let's take out the threat here. Again, we're operating in all communities, so we need to be professional, know what we're shooting at, because again, we live here. I don't want stuff on my conscience of shooting the wrong person or being held accountable for doing damages, that we tend to get excited instead of being, all right, we're professionals. Let's just deal with this. We'll take these guys out. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
It
is almost 1:00, Ken.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
We might have to shut this one down. I have to go to a regular church tomorrow. My granddaughter is singing in the little, they got the little Christmas performance that they guilt all the grandparents to have to go to.
Yeah.
So
I don't have grandkids yet, so
our normal church is on Saturdays. So I went to our church today, but I got to go to a Sunday church tomorrow. Hopefully nothing lights on fire when I walk in the door.
Yeah. Well, into that story, 4 of the cops were indicted on manslaughter.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
I'm kind of okay with that.
Yeah. Again, I try to tell my people, and I train, that basically you are responsible. You know what I mean? You don't want to unconsciously shoot the wrong person. You agree? You know what I mean? It's no problem shooting a bad guy. I mean, just be done with it. You know what I mean? But to have, again, that takes training and effort and understanding why we're here, what we're doing. We're professionally trained. We want to just be fast around, take out the bad guys, and understand the ladder of force. That makes sense? We're not going to use inappropriate force because, again, we can go to jail or be tried for this. You agree?
Yeah. 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 You gotta be smart. You gotta
100%.
I think.
Go ahead.
Well, no, go ahead. You finish your thought, because I'm going to then solicit final comments and see if anyone wants to throw any firebombs on the way out.
Okay. I don't know what was I going to say. I don't know. Go ahead. That was it. So.
Okay, Mark, come on. You want to burn some heretics on your way to bed? Throw some firebombs, brother. I'm kidding. No, this has been awesome. This has been a great conversation. Actually, it was 2 great conversations because we have spread it over 2 live streams. I'm assuming if you're still with us, you've seen this already, but we're going to do it again. We're talking with Ken from Woodline Tracking. He has a great channel, a lot of good information, and he wrote a book, and he did a really good job. If you're interested in the book, you've got to contact him at woodlinetracking.com. And
we'll take care of it.
Yeah, contact us. He'll take care of you, and hopefully we'll do some more collaborations with him in the future. Now that the technology is easy to do. This didn't used to be this easy to do. You couldn't do it through the YouTube app. You had to use third-party
Okay.
apps, and
Yeah.
it was complicated, but it's much easier to stream now. So we can do that. And no one wants to throw any fire bombs. The chat is quiet. Let's see if we missed any good comments here in the last few minutes.
Oh, boy.
Oh, Rob says, "Damn you both! I'm going to be out testing those numbers now. I hate you already." He's talking about the physical fitness stuff.
Yeah.
Old
I'm,
Rob's
I'm
about to
anxious
go
to
on a
see.
hike.
I'm anxious to see because I think that's important because physical fitness is, I mean, the top 3 things you need to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not going to do well without being physical fit.
Yeah. All right. So I don't even know how to pronounce this. He said, "I don't remember you've seen the WinMag 300 AR that came out. I did see that. It was very, very interesting. That's a lot of rifle in a small package."
Yeah. I'm more of a fan of the medium cartridge.
I'm a big fan of the medium cartridge. I think the M1 carbine was one of the most influential military firearms of the 20th century. I am convinced that. Well, anyway, we don't need to get into all that. I've talked about it before. All righty. Oh, yeah. Mark says, "Yes, please recognize the only one true Roman Catholic Church. Happy St. Nicholas Day." Okay. We're going to let Mark have the last word on that. Ken, I
Yeah.
really appreciate you investing all this
Yeah.
time in us, sir. I am going to go to bed.
It's been fun. I've never done it before. So this was a new experience. It's been a good experience.
This was a lot of fun. You were interesting. It was a good stream. And we will do it again. But like I said, I just hit a brick wall, so I'm about to head to bed.
I understand.
But I appreciate you. I appreciate everyone in the chat and everyone who stayed with us for so long. Mark, Rob, it's good to hear from you. Rob, you're up next, brother. I will. I'll actually shoot you a text, and we'll try to set this up. I can't remember for sure if I'm going to be able to do one next week or not. I think we're going to be able to, but we'll see, Rob, if you're available.
Now, you said Patrick did one last week. Was that it?
Patrick did one whenever the last live stream was. It was.
Oh, I didn't see one last week. I don't know. I try to keep up on it. You know what I mean? And
No,
I
it
literally just
wasn't
try to
last
keep
week.
up on
Yeah, it's been
it.
a while.
Wasn't? Okay.
It may have been a month or so.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
I
I
probably
haven't been
saw it
very.
then. I probably saw it then and just forgot. You know what I mean? Because I get old and forget about things. So
Yeah, it's another bearded guy. We talked a lot about Canada.
yeah, I saw him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he lives in Canada, so
Yeah.
that was another good stream. I enjoyed that one a lot.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right, man. We
All
appreciate
right.
you. Y'all have
God
a good
bless.
night. Okay.
Yep.
Take it easy, Ken.
Yep.